what the magic that's gone from conventions today is that this was the only place you could get this stuff.
Right.
And you would spend hours digging through everything to find that rare piece of merchandise or that rare poster or that rare Japanese press book. You know, this is where you went to buy shit. And this was my Christmas, because it was once a year. There weren't any other horror conventions. It was like the one a year that we went to, and it literally was like Christmas for us. I looked forward to this more than anything in the world. You know, that was the big difference. I mean, yeah, you know, people carry on about how, oh, you know, celebrities used to not charge and this and that. Well, all of that shit that I'm talking about is because of the internet. The internet's ruined it all. The internet's the greatest thing and the worst thing that's ever happened to us. It's great because we're able to do what you and I are doing right now, and it's great for so many things, but it's also terrible because it's made the world a much smaller place, you know. And you know, if I want to find a Japanese poster of The Burning, you know, I can go on eBay right now and search for it.
Oh, yeah.
Probably find it.
Yep.
You know, where if I was digging through a pile of posters and I came across it, the thrill of victory, you know, it's like I collect records right now. I'm a big vinyl nerd, and I can find anything I want on Discogs or eBay, but I would rather dig through crates at a record store, a shithole of a record store, or go to a record convention and find it and have that moment of thrill, you know, because that's the fun. It's the hunt. You know?
Oh yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm that way with like DVDs and Blu-rays or like collectible figures. I can get them on eBay, I can get them on Amazon, but I'd much rather go to that secondhand bookstore, you know, and dig through all that dusty junk and find that, you know, that diamond in the rough and be like just ecstatic over it, you know.
Yeah, and you know, and you know, back to the celebrities charging for autographs, you know, that's because of the internet. That's because they were signing for free at conventions, and then these autograph guys started, you know, I remember I used to know what they looked like. I'd see them at the conventions they'd be carrying briefcases filled with stills, and they would just keep throwing them down until the celebrity eventually said, you know, I got other people waiting. I can't sign all of these, you know. And then they turned around and sold it on eBay. Then those celebrities started saying, whoa, you know, they're charging for my autograph and people are buying it. You know, one thing leads to another. And that's me as a fan, you know, I personally would rather stand in a line for 5 to 10 minutes and pay for an autograph than I would to stand in a line for 4 hours to get one for free.
Yeah, same here.
Because God knows I did that enough at these conventions. Because, like I said, they were all back in the day signing for free. So you waited in insane lines trying to get your free autograph. You know, and you missed half of the convention waiting in those stupid lines. So you know, it's a catch-22. You know, there's the positive and the negatives. But
have your thoughts on conventions changed since you've seen it from the other side now as like a promoter and an organizer? Has that changed or soured any of your love for conventions, or has the internet done that already?
Well, I mean, definitely. I mean, if anything, I look forward to doing conventions more to see friends. You know, like I just did Horror Hound Weekend this past weekend, and I'm really tight with those guys. Nathan Hanneman, who runs Horror Hound, is one of my closest friends, and we have other friends that come in specifically for those shows. A guy named Kenny Nelson, who lives in New Jersey. He always comes in. He's a close friend, and you know, the girls I work with, and it and like the vendors and stuff, because they go from show to show. It's almost like a traveling circus, and I enjoy going to those to see those people, to interact with those people, to hang out. Rarely do I find anything anymore that I lose my mind over. You know, I definitely at Horror Hound Weekend, the one in Indianapolis, they do this thing called Mask Fest, and they have all these amazing masks, and I'm a big mask collector, and so there's always some like cool, unique stuff there. And like this weekend, Monsterpalooza, it's the same type of thing, masks and like prop replicas and statues, and I'm really into that stuff. Like the generic horror stuff, it's just so easy to come by now, especially as back in the day, if you found anything Michael Myers related, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they made a Michael Myers t-shirt. This is insane. I have to buy it. Now Michael Myers is on everything, like it's become commercial. And that's cool. I'm cool with that, but it's definitely lost its, the specialness,
well, conventions themselves have become a lot more commercial here in the past few years. They've opened up to everyone. They're no longer sort of, you know what I mean, that me familia, the first rule of conventions is you don't talk about conventions. The second rule of conventions is you don't talk about conventions. With like, The Walking Dead particularly, just, crossing over into mainstream, and that just really opened up, like people that I work with who would never be caught dead in a horror convention in a million years. They know I love horror. They know I go to conventions. They find out that Norman Reedus is going to be at a convention, and they're all over me. How much is this going to cost? How much is that going to cost? What, tell me about this. What kind of shoes should I wear? How much money should I bring? You know what I mean? So it really blew open the doors that it's no longer just us, outsiders. It's now a pop culture thing. And I live in Kentucky, where there's a horror convention every weekend. Here in Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, Indiana, the Carolinas, there's horror conventions like every freaking weekend.
That market is so oversaturated. I mean, I hear you. The thing is, again, it's like the internet, the greatest thing and worst thing that ever happened. I mean, it's that people point the finger at The Walking Dead as they're running horror conventions, this and that. There's positive and negative. Yeah, I liken it to that cool band that only you knew about, that suddenly is getting popular and got signed to a major label, and now they're being played on the radio, and they're not as cool as they used to be. I kind of feel like that's the way horror fans are with their conventions, is it's like, fuck you. You can't like this because you like Walking Dead, and that's not real horror. This is real horror. What you got to think about is, yeah, there's all these more people coming to the conventions, making it more crowded, blah, blah, blah. But what the fans don't think about is like, well, don't bring those Walking Dead people. I only want these rare, obscure people. I want, the victim number 5 from the Funhouse. I want that guy there, you know. But what they don't understand, that guy doesn't draw. That guy is, in a weekend, how many people are really going to buy a ticket to see that guy? Now, how does a promoter finance or justify bringing that guy to the show? Is by bringing someone who they know is going to bring fans through the door. So you have to spend money to make money, but that's how these things work now. Is it's like, if you want your cool, crazy, obscure guests, well, you're going to have to deal with some of these big commercially type guests that can help finance those promoters bringing those little guests. And then in turn, the horror community as a whole, you're opening a whole new world up to these people, like you said, would never be caught dead in a horror convention. They go to one and they go, wow, this is really cool. And what's this weird movie I've never heard of? And, oh, I dig that now. And that money then goes to that filmmaker and that studio, and they make another horror film that, you know what I mean? It all just kind of helps each other. Sitting back and bitching about, I remember when too, but fucking get over it. That was then, this is now. I don't come up to the cashier at the gas station every other week and say, I remember when it was 70 cents a gallon. He's going to look at me like, yeah, what do you want me to do about it? I'm bitching about it. Ain't going to change anything. You know what I mean? It's called, inflation, and things change. And unfortunately, we can't we live in the past as much as we can vicariously through these films and our love of them. We can't have it all the way we want it. You know what I mean?
How did you get into the business of talent manager with Convention All Stars? How did that come about?
Well, that was again an accident. I never aspired to do that.
Well, you must be pretty good at it because you've got a pretty killer list of clients.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely good at it. I'm a very motivated person. I'm a workaholic. I'm the kind of person, when I put my mind to something, I focus on something, I want to be the best, and I work hard. I feel like I work harder than anybody. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I don't know. But, it's paid off for me. And, in regards to how that started, I was doing the convention thing. I was doing the journalism thing, as a, fan convention thing. And I was making connections. And a particular celebrity hit me up one day and said, I'm trying to get into this convention. I can't get the promoter to call me back. I know you know him. Could you talk to him for me? Okay. So I did. I got him in the show. And so then, he was blown away. Like, wow. And I got him, it was weird because at the time, I didn't know how they worked. But when I talked to this particular promoter, instead of haggling, he kind of told me what the deal was. Like, okay, I'll give you this, much guarantee, hotel night, blah, 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 this and that. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds good. I didn't know what I was doing. But then a couple months later, the same guy calls me back and says, hey, I'm trying to get into this show now. Do you think you can help me out like you did on the last one? And I was saying, well, man, this is kind of like work. It's starting to sound like work, So I actually knew another guy who was doing this, and I kind of picked his brain one time at a convention. I said, hey, how do you get paid, and how does this work? And I didn't have a clue. And he told me. And the thing that really hit me was when he said, well, they fly me in and put me up. And I'm like, wait, hold on. They'll fly you into the convention, they'll fly you there and give you a hotel room, and you get to go to the convention for free? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, done.
Yeah.
Because here I was as a fan traveling the United States, going to conventions out of my own pocket. So I'm thinking, if I just book this dude into a show, I'm gonna get flown there and this is the greatest gig in the world. So, and at the time I was working on getting my movie made. I was working on Horizontal Grounds. I thought, great way to promote it. So I did that. And then, as I was doing it, a couple other people, saw me doing it and knew me. And I'm not going to say who the first guy was, because I had a falling out with him, and I'm not a very big fan of that particular person. But
okay.
The second person that hit me up was Richard Brooker, who was Jason Friday 13 Part 3.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, hey, do you want to do that for me? And I'm like, yeah. The next thing I know, I'm booking those two guys. I'm going to shows with them, and they're making money, and I'm getting a little money too. And I'm like, well, wow, I'm going to a show, having fun, and coming home with a little bit of money. I'm like, this is not bad.
Yeah, this is the business for me.
Yeah, I never thought about it as a real business. I never thought of it like, this is what I'm going to do. This is just like a side hobby that I've found a way to fuck the system, and I'm getting shit for free. And that's a fan. I'm thinking, man, I've got this down. Not only am I getting flown there and put up, I got some spending money to buy crap I like at the show. This is awesome. So I was ecstatic. Now, I had just done that Halloween documentary, so I had phone numbers and contacts of everybody we interviewed for that Halloween box, or the Halloween 25 Years of Terror documentary. So I just started calling people and saying, hey, you want to do this? Hey, you want to do, I mean, and everybody knew me, and they're like, yeah, sure, dude. Yeah. Next thing you knew, I had a roster of like 50 people. They were pretty much all Halloween people, but Halloween, as you know, is hot in the convention world, and that just kept snowballing. And here we are today.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome, man. You mentioned Jamie Lee Curtis at that Horror Hound a few years ago. How much persuading did it take to get her to get involved?
None.
Really?
She called me.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Describe, what was that like, getting a phone call from Jamie Lee Curtis?
I'd met her several times, didn't know her, but met her as a fan. One day my phone rings, I pick it up, and I'll never forget it. I go, hello? And I hear, Sean? And I said, yes. She goes, Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, literally as she said that, I recognized the voice. I knew I wasn't being punked, you know. I'm like, holy shit. You know? I'm like, hey, how are you? You know? And she was calling me because, and this is what she said to me. She said, you know, I've got these Michael Myers masks, and I'm trying to get everybody from the first film to autograph them for a charity thing I'm doing for the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. And I've lost touch with almost everybody from the movie. And the few people I have found, when I contact them and I say, hey, do you know where so-and-so is? Your name just keeps coming up. You know, everybody I talk to says, you need to talk to Sean Clark. He knows how to get a hold of everybody. And she said, finally, I just said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to call this guy. And I go, well, all right. Yeah, cool. You know? So I said to her, you know, she said, well, what do you think? And I said, yeah, I'd be more than happy to help you. And I gave her everybody's contact info. And we talked on the phone for like 2 hours.
Wow.
And I never brought up a convention to her because I had heard how adamant she was about not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And she started talking, well, what do you think I should do with these masks? Do you think I should, you know, have an auction? Or she goes, you know, what about these conventions? You know, I mean, do you think it would be a smart move to do one of these conventions and sell it there? I mean, what do you think? Now, that was my opening.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, I'm thinking to myself, I got her. All
Yeah.
I could do is say, yeah, that's what you need to do. But one thing about me, I am a super brutally honest person. I really pride myself on honesty. And for better or for worse, it's always worked for me. And I said to her, I said, you know what, Jamie, as much as I would love to see you at a convention, that's not the best way to sell those masks. And I said, and she goes, really? Why do you say that? And I said, well, you know, you do it at a convention, you know, say you have 2,000 to 10,000 people at a convention. That's, you know, that's how many people could be bidding on this thing. Or you can put it, you know, in an auction online and have it open to the entire world, and you'll make more money. I said, I'm just going to be, I go, as much as it kills me to tell you this, that's the truth. And she goes, wow, I love how honest you are, you know? And she goes, well, tell me more about these conventions. And I said, okay. And that's how it started. I mean, I literally tried to steer her away, and she pulled me back in. So.
Well, that's awesome. And I loved that, you know, that documentary that you guys shot of her at that convention, because she just seemed so, and I'd heard the rumors too, that, you know, she didn't, no conventions. She didn't even really want to talk about Halloween or horror anymore, that she was in a totally different place. But to see her on that documentary, and the fact that she was doing it for such a good cause, and the way she interacted with the fans. And I've seen a lot of celebrities at conventions, even if when they've paid this, you know, huge sum of money for like a photo op, the celebrity is, you know, and it's sometimes deservedly so. They're a little reluctant, you know. But a lot of the times it's like, oh my God, get this freak away from me, hurry up, just move on. You know, she was talking to everyone, she was hugging everyone. I kicked myself so hard for not getting to that show to meet her after watching that documentary.
I think a lot of people were under the assumption, just like everybody else, she'll do another one. You know, this is going to be the first in, you know, a series of conventions, you know, and she was very adamant about one and done. Now, between you and me, I feel she regrets doing that. I think as she was doing it, she knew, oh shit, this actually isn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. This is actually kind of fun. I could totally see myself doing this again. But I made such a point about never again, one time only, for her to go back on that, you know.
Well, but Sean, you're very persuasive.
Okay. Well, regardless, I think she regrets having made that decision. Believe me, the whole time when she was saying that, every time she would say that to me before the convention even happened, you know, we'd be talking on the phone or whatever, I said, you may maybe not say the one and only, because what if you like it? And she's like, Sean, you know, and I'm like, what if, you know, she was so, in her mind, she thought she was going to hate it.
So do you think Jamie Lee might be up for any future convention appearances?
I don't think she would. Do I think I could possibly convince her to? Maybe. You know, it would have to be the kind of thing where it was a favor to me. And like maybe if I did another Halloween convention or something, since I did the 25th, the 30th, and the 35th, if I did maybe a 40th and asked her to do something, would she? I think she might, but you know, I don't know if it would be a full blown like appearance like she did before. But I don't know. You know, do I think anybody else could convince her? I don't think so. I think it, like I said, I think it's something that she would do for me, maybe as a favor, because we ended up becoming pretty close after that whole experience. So, you know, who knows?
Yeah. Well, there's hope at least. And you know, tell her there's a heavy set man in Kentucky who just would worship the ground she walks on.
You just described 95% of the men in Kentucky.
Come on, man. Come on.
Had to do it.
That's
you
a low
set
blow.
yourself up for that one.
I did.
No, but what was I going to say? You know, what we have done. I have, since the Halloween convention, we've done